My son tossed me to the curb like garbage when he found out I wasn't his real dad and denied every chance I tried to connect with him, but now his real dad tossed him aside too because his new wife told him to, and he's come back to me asking for a second chance. Posted by you/Carrie Early 1344. I, 48M, found out my ex, 49F, had cheated on me and that of the two children she had given birth to, 23F and 21M, only the girl was mine. I filed for divorce, and my ex tried for reconciliation, but I couldn't live with so much doubt. Once we got to court, it was like a switch had flipped, and she tried to keep me from the children. It didn't work, though. I had really good lawyers. In spite of everything, I was willing to still be a father to Noah, fake name, but my ex can be very manipulative. She told Noah about his real dad and even introduced them. Since then, I became the strict fake dad while he was the cool real dad. When Noah was 13, he told me that he no longer wanted to see me and that he'd tell a judge the same thing if I forced visitation. I asked him why and if I had ever made him feel bad. Noah just said that he wanted to spend more time with his real dad and didn't like my house rules. I was heartbroken, but I let him go and still made attempts to keep the relationship. I called, texted, sent presents, and even invited him to events. Noah wouldn't respond or would pass small messages to his sister. When Noah was 18, he legally changed his surname to his father's and told me there wasn't enough room for me to attend his graduation. After that, I gave up and resolved to live life being a father to my daughter and son, 12M, via my second wife. Recently, Noah reached out to me, apologized for his past actions, and wanted a relationship again. I was surprised and heavily skeptical, and I was right to be. Apparently, Noah's real dad got married, and his wife gave him an ultimatum, and he chose her. I told Noah that while I am sorry for what happened to him, I had no interest in being treated like an old pair of gloves that you only think about and wear when it gets cold. My ex thinks I'm being hurtful and petty, rich coming from her, and my daughter says that she understands my pain but hopes that I can learn to give Noah a second chance. I just don't know, because I'm in a place where I'm fine not having Noah in my life or having any communication with him, and I don't want to rekindle a relationship just for him to drop me again when his real dad changes his mind. Am I the jerk for refusing to give my former son a second chance? Top/relevant comments. Commenter. While I completely understand everyone else's reasoning, I feel many are missing the most important point. Noah did not reach out because he saw the error of his ways or realized how his mother manipulated him against you. No, Noah is reaching out because his real dad tossed him aside. While it is certainly possible that event opened Noah's eyes, as outsiders it's easy to just say, forgive him, he's just a kid. Being the person hurt, it's not so easy to just do it when the event is making you feel like a backup plan in any kind of relationship, much less a father-son one. Having said that, while I wouldn't blame you for not accepting him at all, the most respectful thing, for everyone involved, would be to let the initial shock and anger subside, then arrange a meet-up and talk to him. During that conversation, hear him out and figure out for yourself, is Noah reaching out because this opened his eyes, or is it out of anger and resentment at his real dad and he's using you as a replacement? Ops response. I feel like I'm just a replacement, or worse, a holder until his real dad changes his mind. Commenter 2. Do you think you could ask him what he would do if that happened? Ops response. I have thought about asking him that, but I honestly don't think I would believe him if he told me he was genuinely sorry and still wanted a relationship with me, regardless of whether his dad was in the picture or not. The name change was a big gesture against me. Commenter 3. He's already 21 years old. He had plenty of time to reconnect with you but chose to do it now because his dad dropped him. His mom may have manipulated him when he was a kid, but he had plenty of time to realize that once he became an adult. Also, I don't get why his dad's wife would give his dad an ultimatum. He's an adult, why was an ultimatum needed? Does he live with his dad? Is his dad paying for his expenses? If it's about money, then, sorry to say, but he's only trying to reconnect with you because of the money. Don't let anyone guilt trip you. Stay firm in what you want. Ops response. I honestly don't know why his dad was given an ultimatum. He literally stopped talking to me directly when he was a teen and then ceased all other forms of contact once he was 18. He had to ask my daughter for my phone number. Commenter 4. Your son, because he is your son, he was for more than half of his life, you were in the hospital on the day he was born, you changed his diapers, you're his dad, like it or not, was a middle schooler when he decided to cut you out of his life. I think maybe your interpretation of his motivations may not be correct. There's a pretty strong chance that when he saw that his bio dad would think nothing of giving up his relationship with him for a girl, it reminded him of the dad who never stopped trying to love him, even when he didn't really want that love, and made him realize what he'd lost. At 21, he's still very young, and it sounds like he wants his dad back. Sure, it could end in the two of you yelling at each other and never speaking again, but there is also a very significant chance that this could be the start of rekindling a relationship. I don't think there would ever be a situation where you would say, oh damn, I wish I hadn't reconnected with my long-lost son. You're lucky in that it's only been 8 years. It will be much harder to reconnect if you reject him now, just like his bio dad did, and decide when he's 40 that you'd actually like him in your life. I think it's fair to say that if the vast majority of 7th grade boys had a choice between a rules and stability dad or a fun no rules dad, they'd pick the second one. Of course it hurt you, but I don't think it reveals some great moral failing of his. He was a young person grappling with the very traumatic fact that his identity changed when it came out that half of his DNA came from a completely different person than he thought. Of the people who were traumatized by this paternity revelation, I would think his trauma would be equal to or even worse than yours, particularly since he was so young when it happened. So you would be the jerk for missing out on a chance to get your son back. And if it doesn't work out, that's okay, but at least you'll know. Ops response. Noah stopped thinking of me as his dad long before I stopped considering him my son. So I want to ask, can two people still be considered family if they stop thinking of or treating each other as family, and there's no blood relation? Commenter 5. Of course they can. People choose their family all the time. My daughter still calls my ex-husband dad, even though he's technically no longer her stepdad, and she has a relationship with her bio dad. There's always room for more love. There's a lot of hurt on both sides of your situation, so reconciliation won't be exactly easy, but that doesn't mean it's wrong. Ops response. But again, Noah chose to reject me, and I eventually got tired of being rejected and stopped thinking of him in that way. He's choosing me when it seems like he can't try for anyone else, and I don't choose that. You mention your daughter, but did she at any point stop calling your ex-dad and then change her mind later? Is her biological dad involved in any way? And if he was, would she still be calling your ex-dad? Op adds an edit to their post. Just to be clear, because I keep seeing this, I divorced my ex when Noah was 6. My ex told Noah the truth about his parentage when he was 10, and his real dad came into his life around the age of 12. This all didn't just happen when he was 13. By the time he reached that age, he had already had at least a year to process the information. When I asked my daughter, since Noah wasn't talking to me, if she thought her mom was pushing Noah to say those things, she said, no. Apparently, Noah wanted to spend time with his dad, but because of his work schedule, it wasn't always often. However, when it could happen, it was conveniently during my scheduled time with Noah. I tried to see if we could work something out, but my ex and Noah refused any compromise. Update 2 months later. First, I just wanted to say thank you for all the messages and comments in support. It really feels nice to have my feelings validated. After a lot of thought, I decided to follow my wife's advice and write an actual letter to Noah, regardless of whether or not I intended to send it. I explained to Noah how much he hurt me by refusing to see me, never inviting me to important events in his life, not wanting to meet or spend time with my son, via my new wife, and how legally changing his surname hurt me immensely. I also wrote that, in spite of everything, I still didn't take any pleasure in hearing about his father's rejection of him, as I understand how hurtful that can be. I said that even though I knew he was young, I was still angry over what he did, and a part of me felt resentful toward all the time, love, and money I spent on him when I technically didn't have to. This letter felt very cleansing, and I read it a couple of times before burning it. In the end, I decided to reach out to Noah and asked my daughter for his new number. He changed it when he was 19 and didn't give me his new one. I sent Noah a message reiterating how sorry I was about how his father treated him, but I was hurt by how it felt like I was being treated as a last resort, and the circumstances of his desire to reconnect don't make me trust the relationship. I told him that I was willing to have some type of relationship with him again, but only under these specific guidelines. 1. Don't call me dad or refer to me as father in any way. We can revisit this in the future, but right now it honestly feels too soon. 2. Don't ever ask me for money. No cosigns for anything either. I'm not going to be his personal ATM for any reason. 3. You invite me to your things, I'll invite you to mine. 4. He's free to complain or talk about his bio dad with or around me, but he needs to understand that I have no kind words for that man and will either say negative things or nothing at all. 5. I expect him to be nice to my son and new wife and treat them with respect. 6. Don't go running to your mom for information about me, my wife, or my son's lives, as it's none of her business. 7. Don't go running to your mother or sister for any problems you have with me. We either talk about it man to man or find someone else. I don't want them trying to insert themselves into our business. 8. He needs to understand that going forward, our relationship, if we continue to pursue one, is going to be different and will take more work on his end than mine, as he is less of a priority to me now that he's an adult. 9. When I die, the majority of my assets will be split between his sister and my son through my current wife, and he will only be left the minimum required so he has no grounds to sue. Again, I'm not going to be his cash cow. The rest of you can agree or disagree, but these are my terms if Noah wants any type of direct communication with me going forward. This is the only way that I feel comfortable and the way I believe I can protect myself if Noah ever becomes hurtful. This will also be his last chance, and if he disappoints me again, then I am prepared to wash my hands of him, Because I have more to live for than just waiting to be loved by someone. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. This is just sad. The son wanted a fun dad, and he got one. The op has a new life and is clearly still heartbroken. The son was a child, and his mom encouraged him, but this is the consequence. And sometimes, even the things we do as children last. Not everything is repairable. Not everything has to be repairable. Commenter 2. I really wrestled with my feelings on this one. On one hand, Noah's life fell apart when his mom cheated and he lost his dad. He was clearly manipulated and made choices at age 13 that were unwise. He doubled down on those choices as a young adult and caused deep hurt to the man who raised him as his own for most of his childhood. Noah may or may not have had the blinkers removed when his biological father ditched him for his new wife. He may have had a personal breakthrough, or he may be reaching out to Op as a placeholder. Only time and communication would tell that. I understand Op's desire not to have him in his life, I really do, and would never judge Op for staying well clear. How much hurt should someone have to endure just for the person who caused it to crack the door back open? On the other hand, Noah was clearly manipulated by his mom and bio dad. Op had no rights, not being his dad and not being married, and continued to try. At age 13, who knows how much of his attempts actually landed and in what way? Honestly, it is extremely difficult to form proper, nuanced judgments that differ from your moms and bio dads as a youngster. If I think back to myself at 13, 15, 18, even 21, I was a child and later a young adult with a lot of emotional development left. Now, at almost 40, I look back at my 21-year-old self and see he was not fully grown, still needed guidance, had mistakes to make, and was not the person I am today. With that in mind, I feel Op could meet Noah and explore this. It may be about money. It may be as a placeholder now that his dad has abandoned him. But there is a chance that, at 21 years of age, with his father's betrayal, he has started feeling, seeing, living, and reflecting on the nuance and complexity of a situation that the child he was had a very binary rejection of Op. If this is the case, then he needs Op more than ever. The problem is that this need is no longer Op's problem or responsibility and, if given, would be out of pure altruism and kindness. The whole situation and post made me sad. I hope they find whatever relationship, or lack thereof, that works for them both and brings them both peace.